It's alive! Today we are putting these windlass cases back together. By the end of this video we should be able to pull some chain with this old thing, so do stick around. Let's catch you up on a few things here. So this is the original gearbox and motor that came off the boat. It's all in pretty rough shape, the deck plate is completely corroded, and the Lucas motor here is very suspect, although this one does still work. Today we fix all of this. We've already cleaned and primed these pieces, and now we've been waiting for a couple weeks for some of these sealed plugs to harden up so we can paint over them. These should be sandable, but I thought I would start by using a very clean X-Acto knife to trim these, and they came off pretty nicely. Do not try this at home. I've got a new spray booth set up here, and this is working really well, and I threw in a turntable just to make it a lot easier to get this part covered without too much space. Then we threw on one last coat of Interprotect just to make sure this whole thing is primed and protected, ready for base coat. Hi, in case you're new here, my name is John and this boat is Antidote. Now I am not a pro boat builder, I am an engineer and a sailor with the dream of fixing up this old boat to go sail around the world someday. Now we've got a lot of work to do first, but how about right now we get some paint on those cases and get that windlass bolted back together. 4 total coats of Interprotect on the windlass cases, and they have come out looking really nice and sharp. So this has been wet sanded with 400 grit sandpaper to give us a really good base for the base coat to adhere onto. And what we're going to use today is the Allcraft SE, and yes, the can is a little dirty, but it's what's inside that counts. And this is a really cool system from Allcraft that has a separate base color and clear coat system, and with the base you can have just regular color, pearl, metallic, maybe others, and then the clear coat is customizable for the sheen, so you can go anywhere from totally matte up to semi-gloss. I thought it would be pretty cool to try to match the windlass parts that got shipped from New Zealand, from Nilsson, because they have this cool black anodized finish. And I thought, well, it would be kind of neat if it all looked good together. And is this going a little bit overboard for a windlass that's going to be in the anchor locker? Maybe, yes, but is it going to look awesome and perform great? It sure will, so stick around, here we go. Let's say hi to a couple of the new Patreon crew members that really help keep this channel humming along. If you're interested in some behind the scenes updates and ad-free videos, then you can check out the Patreon link in the description down below. The folks whose names are appearing on the screen now go the extra mile to keep this channel moving, and I couldn't do it without you. Thanks all so much. Back to the video. Two coats of the jet black and 2 more of the CS matte, and these look really good. I'm floored at how well these came out. It's actually a bit of a bummer that they're going to be mounted below deck in the anchor locker, but I thought maybe what we could do is flip the whole thing over and mount this on the top deck so that everybody can enjoy it. I don't know what you think about that. You can let me know in the comments, but look at how well the sheen matched up here to the anodized parts. It's really close. This is just a touch shinier, but they look really cool together. And again, not necessary. But you know, we want to paint these, protect them, that's priority number 1. It's cool just to get the color to match though while you're at it. These need a little bit more time to fully cure. It's 7 days for full working cure on these. Before we get on to bolting this up, and it's coming real soon, there's something else I want to show you. I thought first I'd ask you to hit that like button for me. It helps the channel out a lot. I really appreciate it. So let's get to 1,000 likes and we'll move on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're close enough. Let's keep going. So this windlass has 2 features. It has the gypsy to raise the chain, and then there is this capstan which also operates. And now this is always running and turning with the shaft, and then by turning down this clutch you actually tighten the gypsy down against some brass plates, and that allows you to drive the chain. So you can operate this as just a rope winch when you like, or have the chain running as well. What happens though if the motor stops working for some reason? Well, you can unthread this top part and you would raise the capstan off of the shaft. Then somehow you got to figure out a way to pry up this cone. But once you get it up, you've exposed these 3 dogs. If I ever should find myself needing to drive the Gypsy manually, then enter rusty crank arm that I discovered in the bilge. This old piece of metal is definitely seen better days, but this just slips over the shaft, and then it has a handle here that you can crank the winch up with. Now this was completely frozen on when I got the boat. You can see I already have drilled that out and getting ready to tap a new bolt thread into that because it was completely seized. But yeah, the whole thing is completely rusted. I'm not sure if these drive pins are in good shape. We'll probably try and pull them out, maybe press new ones in. Anyway, we'll get all this dressed up, refreshed while we're at it. While this worked, it was super hard on this old tap, and as you can see here, it's completely destroyed. But thankfully, the good folks at Bolt Depot sent me some new taps to get this job completed. And now they have actually just let me know that anyone that's following this channel is able to get 10% off anything that you order from their website, which is super cool. I am a really big fan of top quality stainless fasteners, which is a weird thing to hear me say out loud, but it's completely true, and it's really important if you're working on a marine restoration. So what you're going to need to do is type in theregularboltdepot.com, but then add LFS10, and then you'll get your 10% discount automatically applied. So thanks, Bolt Depot, really cool. Hope you can take advantage of that. Getting back to this windlass handle, I was planning on powder coating this part, but it didn't really fit inside my oven, and then I started thinking about other ways I could treat it, and I decided to do this instead. The folks up at Silver City Galvanizing in Richmond, BC were kind enough to take on this small order to do this crank arm, and I threw in this old anchor that I found lying in the bilge. With these parts now freshly zinc plated and looking almost brand new, I think this is a great way to extend their service life and prevent rust down in the bilge. To finish off the crank handle, I found this high quality 3/16 stainless shoulder bolt, and with this now installed, the handle is once again rotating and operating properly. To finish off the part, I did find some 3/16 stainless roll pins online, but they aren't here yet. So while we wait for that, let's throw some gears inside that gearbox. The time has arrived to begin putting the windlass back together, bolting all of this up. Now you'll notice here on the motor, we have already got the pinion gear installed. We pressed that on the other day. We made sure that everything fit before we went ahead with all the final painting. So this is ready to go. Now, one of the mounting bolts here for the windlass is actually captive under the motor. The way that this is gonna be put together now, we're gonna have to put that in first and seal that up. So we're gonna clean this up a little bit, get any of that aluminum oxide off with some Scotch-Brite, put the bolt back in. We'll use a little Honda Bond to seal it, and we're gonna let that kick up and cure. While we wait for that to cure up, we will get working on what will be the top of the windlass. We're gonna press in a new seal here, get a few of these bores cleaned up, and basically gonna start building this from the top down, upside down. So here we go. For this, I'm using a very sparing amount of the Tef gel. I just like that it doesn't get washed out with water. So I'm hoping that if water does end up down here, this will keep the metal clear. That's the plan. We've managed to get a little bit of paint down inside some of these bolt holes, and I wasn't really too concerned about that because I don't mind the extra protection. But now you'll remember 2 of these actually have these locating dowels in them. And so this needs to go back inside to locate the 2 halves together. So I have this old one here that's very worn out, and I have a couple of brand new ones that the company in New Zealand sent me, and now they are a little tighter getting in. What we're gonna do here now is chase these down with this adjustable reamer. Simple little tool that you can completely adjust, and we'll just chase these holes out just to make sure that they are exactly fitting these parts. With these threads all cleaned up, we are ready now to mount the lower deck plate. And it's gonna go just about like so. For this, we have a whole box of new parts here from Bolt Depot, and we're gonna be using these 3/16 stainless bolts to put this together. Grab a couple of washers off the shelf. To seal this up, we're gonna be using Seal and Lock from Permatex. And the idea here is that we wanna make sure that no water or oil can switch sides on the case here. So this does exactly what it says. It locks the threads and seals them. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, so let's get going. Once again here, I am using a little bit of Tef gel just to coat the stainless parts. I just want these to be trouble-free, and then we're gonna torque these down to about 20 foot-pounds, which is the spec for a 3/8 fastener. This bolt in the lower unit should be totally dry now. We'll pop that out. So since the bolts actually go through the inside of the case now and screw directly into the motor, This is sort of a permanent installation for the motor. And there's only 3 of the 4 screws used in the motor housing. One of these 4 holes will plug with a stainless steel set screw, and this is going to just make sure that nothing gets down inside there. I don't really know where that goes. And I've already decided I want the motor with the electrical outlets to be sort of facing the outside. This way I think I can keep the cleanest anchor locker. Let's hope I get it right, because once I set this, it's going to be really hard to adjust it. Let's start putting some gears back in these boxes. You see we've got tape on both halves just so that when we go to put the RTV in, we can get everything nice and clean. This one has been mounted to the table. We're going to actually build it upside down. So we'll put the shaft in there in a second. I used this part, I made this on the 3D printer, and I thought it would be an interesting experiment to try to make a drill jig. Now I know that plastic isn't really the ideal, but it probably will do a few attempts without much trouble, and this really helps get the drill going through nice and straight. Not really necessary here on this 5/8 inch plywood or OSB, but when I get to doing the deck, it's going to be handy because we have to go about 4 inches, and you need all of those holes to be perfectly aligned so this all bolts up. I think it's an interesting experiment. We're going to see how it does. Usually I'd get a bunch of plywood, stack it up, and drill it out on the drill press using the part as a template. But this I just drew on the program and then quickly had it printed while I worked on some other stuff. So that was kind of nice. And with the cost of plywood, this is actually kind of economical. So test fitting all the gears one more time, and everything is looking good. So now we're ready to put some grease in here, start filling this thing back up. Here we go. Well, of course, right on time, Murphy is here, and we're having a little bit of an issue. This grease that I've been using, we just ran out. I thought I had enough for some reason. I thought 1 quart was enough. We're about 80% full, and that is blowing bubbles. So we've had to switch now to this other one. And if you're not aware, mixing greases is a bit of a dangerous topic. I've spoke to both companies, and they both agree that each one will work with the other. So we're gonna add this in to keep going and avoid having to take all this out. I'm getting ready to put this shaft through, and I'm doing what I usually do, wrapping a little bit of electrical tape lightly around the shaft so that I can get this slipped past the oil seal. And then I'm remembering that I have a bushing in there that's going to really limit anything going through. But I did find these very small O-rings at the hardware store that look like they're going to work. They are just slightly proud, and they seem to be slipping through the shaft now and making its way past the bushing. Now that we have the shaft through, we'll take those O-rings off, put the circlips back in place, install the gear, and then we can hopefully close this thing up. It's kind of hard work with the oil and the grease in here because I'm trying now to get this clean and squished down with some nice RTV. This would be a lot easier if there was like a fill hole on this piece, but this is how it works. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was a lot of work, but I think we've done a reasonable job here. So far it looks pretty good. Let's hope that all the oil stays inside. But man, it was a lot juggling the gasket, all the RTV, the bolts and everything. We've got everything tightened down and we're gonna let it cook up for about 24 hours before we torque them down the rest of the way. While we wait for that, I have these bolts that I want to use to install the upper deck plate. Now these are silicone bronze, very cool carriage bolts. The original bolts have at some point disappeared, and what was in there now was just some regular hex bolts that were kind of falling in there. I'm hoping that these will go on top and sort of seal any water path out. The problem is they don't have that square engagement to kind of keep them from spinning. So I do want to prevent that. I think what I'll just do is I'll put a bit of light grease on here, mix up some thick epoxy, and we'll just pop it in those holes to hold these still. That should hopefully work. Welcome back. It's another day here, and the epoxy for these has all dried up and cured. In fact, maybe a little too well. It's not popping out very easily. So I think we're gonna have to bring out the big guns for this. Well, that wasn't too bad, so let's see if we can clean this up now. Well, she probably won't be the prettiest windlass in the marina, at least not from the top. But altogether, it looks pretty good. We've got the whole upper assembly back together, mocked up on this bench here, and now we're ready to cast down the anchor chain and keep these sawhorses secured in any storm that might come our way. You know I'm not gonna leave you hanging like this, right? Let's get some juice on this thing and see if it works. The suspense here is just killing me. It's alive! Well, that is certainly exciting to see this running after all that time. And some of you might wonder, why bother putting so much time and effort into restoring this old windlass? Why not just replace it? And for me, it's just kind of the philosophy. I just enjoy restoring old things. That's maybe why I have this boat next to my house here. I did look into getting it re-chromed, and the price of that was astronomical, I'd have to say. So I could almost replace it for that price. So we probably won't be re-chroming it. It's gonna be the ugly duckling on the dock with a really beautiful gearbox down below. I really do enjoy these restoration projects, and this is a nice little milestone in a piece of a bigger project. And it's sort of like eating the elephant one bite at a time, as someone once put it in the comments. And I realize that a lot of you think I'm never gonna go sailing because I'm spending so much time on all these things. And I can see where you're coming from. We'll see. Maybe there's some ways I can reduce some of the input to different parts of the boat project, find some ways to save some time without really cutting corners. So we'll see about that. But for now, we carry on. This is an exciting moment. So if you are new to the channel and would like to get caught up from the start, there's a playlist right here. And if you want to subscribe for more of the videos, we'd love that button for you there. See you next time. If I ever do find myself needing to drive the manual gypsy, manual gypsy?